You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't going to be that fun. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is a great day, a little bit of mixed emotion day. I've been warning you all week that this week would be a change coming up in the Doug Collins podcast, and we're no longer going to be on the Salem platform. We're looking at some other options, and we'll be telling you about that on my social media at Rep Doug Collins. That'll be my Twitter feed. You can see it at Doug Collins GA. I believe it's on Instagram. We'll put it on Facebook as well. We'll let you know what's going to be coming up as we go forward. But just as on this platform, this will be our last episode. I want to thank Salem for the last 3 years. We've worked together. And, you know, we've had a great time together. It's been one. I'll speak more of this at the end before I sign off today on this Friday's Finest edition. But it's been great to have you along every week as we've explored a lot of things. We've done a lot, has seen a lot of things in 3 years, and it's been exciting to go for it. But I'm also excited about a new possibility, a little more interactive, maybe more live stuff as we go forward. So just be prepared for that. Again, want to thank everybody for being a part as we go forward, as we change the format up a little bit and go from it into a different direction. But today's Friday's Finest. It's going to be an epic Friday's Finest. We got James, we got Chip. James, I used to say the New Texan by way of New Jersey, by way of everywhere, is now continuing his cross-country journey. He's found himself in San Diego. Please, everybody be aware of that if you're in San Diego. James is there for a while, and we're back. But Chip's back with us, and we've got a lot to talk about as we go. So right after the break, we'll come back, and we'll lock into the last Friday's Finest episode here with Safe. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels as the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use My Pillows are just $25. My Pillow sandals, $25. There's 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels, you guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the My Pillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. Hey, inflation's at a 40-year high. The stock market looks more uncertain than ever. The new central bank digital currency is on its way and could be the government's ultimate surveillance tool against Americans. It looks like the government is playing games with your savings and retirement. So what are you going to do to help protect yourself? Did you know that you can have physical gold and silver into your IRA or 401k with zero tax or penalties? Millions of Americans are doing this right now for protection, and you should think about it too. The company I trust and recommend is Preserve Gold. They will go all over your options and make sure the process of acquiring precious metals is simple and easy. So if you're looking to help protect your retirement with a trustworthy company, request your free investment guide from the experts at Preserve Gold. Preserve Gold is accredited by the Better Business Bureau, and they have hundreds of 5-star reviews, so you know that you're in good hands. Just text Collins, COLLINS, to 50505. And an exclusive offer for my listeners, they'll get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying purchase on a retirement account rollover. So don't wait. Text Collins to 50505 today and get your free gold and silver investment guide and take the first step. Again, text Collins to 50505 to get your free guide from the good people at Preserve Gold. All right, we're back. Chip. We always start off with a little bit of the serious note here, and we've had a big hit here in Georgia, and I think that's Georgia, North Carolina, a little bit of South Carolina, Florida has been really devastated. And I've been watching some stuff. The district that I served in Congress borderlines the North Carolina district of Chuck Edwards, where all of this basically has happened. And the mass. Been up there many times. In fact, just over the last year, I've been up there at least 3 times and spoke in these communities at different events. And it's really terrifying. And in a way, I don't like to use words like that, but to see the devastation that has happened. And I saw a video this morning in which they alluded to the fact we've not even seen the death toll rate, and because they're seeing people whose houses literally fell off the side of the mountain. They roads are nowhere out. And it concerns me, Chip. And I don't, look, I think Governor Kemp's done a great job here in Georgia. I think they're doing the best they can with what we've got. We still got, I still think it's about 80,000 that's without power here in Georgia. And we're talking some bigger cities, Augusta, Statesboro, Valdosta. These are areas that have just been devastated. Does it disturb you though? And without being, is overtly political, where's the national outrage or the governmental outrage? I just don't see it, Chip. Not like we've been held to in these other storms.
No, I was, first of all, let me just start by saying you're absolutely right. I mean, Hurricane Helene has just been nothing short of catastrophic. And, as somebody who really is fascinated with weather, and, used to be a private pilot. I used to have my pilot's license. So you have to have, kind of a basic understanding of weather systems and certainly thunderstorms and things like that. I mean, you always hear with hurricanes that you want to be if you have to get caught in a hurricane, you want to be on the west side of the hurricane,
right,
not the east side of the hurricane. If there was ever a hurricane in history that makes that point bigger than this hurricane, I couldn't name one, because,
right,
this hurricane came ashore literally about 25 miles east of Tallahassee, 135 mile an hour sustained winds. And Tallahassee had some damage, but they were on the right side of the hurricane, meaning they were on the left side of the hurricane.
Yeah.
And, we see it as everything runs through Georgia like this. You saw, on Twitter, kind of the satellite, the satellite images from space from a couple days ago. And it was just heartbreaking to see no lights along that swath. And, in 1995, I was a student at Auburn University, and this reminds me of a storm that came through there, Hurricane Opal. It's the only it's the only hurricane since 1995 that has similar characteristics. And what I mean by that is what made Opal different and what makes Helene district different is how fast the storm was moving directionally, meaning not how fast the winds were. We know that because that's what makes it a hurricane. But normally these storms are moving, 5 to 10 to 12 to 13 miles an hour. The storm is moving 35 miles an hour. And the reason that's important, Doug, is it didn't have time to weaken. But, to answer your question specifically about, a federal response, I was disgusted to see President Biden's response to this storm. Disgusted. He said nothing about it until Sunday evening, and I'm trying to find the tweet, and I can't seem to find it right now. But it was horrendous. It was so impersonal. It was something along the lines of, Hurricane Helene was a devastating storm. We pray for everybody that was in its path. We're going to do what we can from the Fed. Didn't even mention any of the affected areas in the states. And of course, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. There are some political ramifications, for this as well. And, it doesn't really fit today's media narrative real well, because a lot of the victims of Western North Carolina were white.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, and it's also rural, and it's also conservative, and it's also a lot. And
And
you
they're
know, look,
Republican, and they vote Republican. So
yeah,
yeah,
and it's, I didn't want to, I don't even like to think about it, but I mean, it's just becoming now and more obvious. Look, as somebody's been in the Air Force for 23 years almost, longer in the Navy. I mean, Katrina came, everybody was all over Bush on the response, and we had National Guard, you had regular Army, you had regular Air Force, you had reserves, you had others, all involved in the cleanup, all involved in rescue attempts. The 82nd Airborne is sitting 100 miles from this area, and they have been told to stand down. They've not been told to do nothing. And they've got friends and family, many of them actually probably live in that area. And you're telling me that the same groups we sent to New Orleans, we can't send to Western North Carolina? I mean, and you're telling me that that's normal?
no,
And
it's
then
not normal.
and then the one that I got today it was amazing when they showed that FEMA has spent over $1 billion in the last 2 years on housing migrants, illegal immigrants, out of their federal funds, so they're short on funds. And now, since when, Chip, did illegal immigration become a natural disaster? It's not a natural disaster. It's a man-made disaster by Biden and Harris. And now we're $1 billion short.
That's exactly right, Doug. That's exactly right. It's outrageous.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. And it's sad. Chuck Edwards, I was on Newsmax this morning, and Chuck was on before me. Chuck's the congressman that took over in Western North Carolina, who does Asheville and on down in almost all of these areas. Chuck said he has not heard personally from Biden or Harris.
No, and I'll tell you it. So I found the tweet right now, Doug, and this just makes me it makes me angry. I mean, as the day after the hurricane came through and was providing devastation, President Biden tweeted, "Since I took office, we've conserved more than 42 million acres of our nation's lands and waters. That's 42 million everlasting sources of inspiration for our grandkids and their grandkids." That was on Saturday. And then the next tweet he put out on Saturday: "My administration knows that thoughts and prayers aren't enough, and so do leaders in states in our country. It doesn't matter you're a Democrat or Republican. We want to keep our families safe. 31 states introduced legislation to address gun violence in 2024. So, as Western North Carolina, and then the next tweet he sent out on Saturday was talking about $17 billion having been invested in HBCUs on his watch. It wasn't until Sunday, after all those important tweets, that he had to get out on Saturday, right? Remember, because this storm came through Western North Carolina and Georgia and Florida on Thursday night.
Yeah, and Friday.
So by the time noon came around on Friday, the storm had really passed. And yet on Saturday, he's tweeting about the environment, HBCU funding, and gun control. I mean, he's completely out of touch with what's going on. Now, to his credit, they've caught up. So now you see a lot of, he did a flyover, but there's just no excuse for it. I mean, from a staff level, I mean, I know Joe sleeps 18 hours a day, but for goodness sakes, I know he doesn't run his Twitter. Let the staff do their jobs and get it done. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the other part is why wasn't it? Two things that struck me, and you made a comment earlier, and I want to bring James in early on this, because James normally comes in for our segment, but I want James to come in here because this is something that's interesting, because from a popular culture, Weather Channel has become, and I've watched Weather Channel. I got made fun of. We kept the Weather Channel on in my office in Congress all the time, and so we wasn't watching the floor. And people said, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, they started calling me old, because I just enjoyed the weather. I just watched it. Weather Channel, unfortunately, has become, much more mouthpiece-ish for climate and everything else, which, again, we're not even gonna get there. But what got me, Chip, is in this whole issue is there was seemingly no FEMA pre-positioning. There was no, pre-positioning of assets. There was nothing in that regard. And then, as someone who is and by the way, I'm a hobby watcher, okay? But I've watched radars, and it's fascinating to me, and I've done it for 30 years. And you could tell this storm was not hitting Tallahassee. It was 200 miles out, and it was going northeast. It was not turning. And yet the Weather Channel and others kept saying, well, it's going to turn and hit Tallahassee. No, it's not. And it just wasn't doing it. And they kept preparing. If you saw the cones were over Atlanta and, into Nashville. I mean, Nashville was supposed to be one of the ones, flooding in Memphis, because we had that. And I've told this before. The 3 days, since Tuesday night, we had rain in Atlanta all the way up this little mountain channel for 3 days. I mean, the saturation was in. We had 4 to 6 inches of rain. And this came, as you said, east of 75, absolute destruction. West of 75, a little.
Rain. We just said rain. I mean, we had a lot of rain. We had 9 inches at our house, which is a lot of rain. But we had no wind damage whatsoever. I lost power for 45 minutes, and I had a little bit of a leak in the basement. Got off pretty good.
Yeah, can you? You and I both. We grew up around Atlanta and the area. It was sort of funny for me. Westminster, which is a local private school, very nice private school here, had its field flooded, and they showed pictures of it. But those same neighborhoods, there's been a lot of money spent over the years in Atlanta to try and help the flood. But you and I both grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Those, and they try to say, oh, this is climate change. These streets are flooding. They flooded every year. I mean, I was sitting there just amazed that they were actually putting propaganda out saying, oh, this, I didn't not remember this. It used to happen all the time. They built up the banks now. They've done some other stuff to help it. Chip, this narrative has got to change.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been having flooding and hurricanes since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
and in fact, I would argue if you go back and look historically, look at that 2 or 3 year run when we had Katrina and all those hurricanes. It's been pretty quiet the last decade.
Yeah. Well, look at it. You had how many people were? How many of the Weather Channel and everybody? This is going to be the worst hurricane season we've ever had. Oh, we're going to have 40 storms in July and September and August, and by in the 1st of September. And look, you don't tear away from one storm. One storm like this one tears up the narrative. I get it. And we're focused on helping people. And a lot of us, we've been posting all of our social medias. We've been getting help to people as best we can. But if you would have listened to the Weather Channel, you wouldn't have went out into anywhere in the last, you wouldn't have went to Florida at all, because they were saying we're going to get blown away. Let's switch gears a little bit. I talked about it a little bit on the Wednesday show. We've now had a couple of days in the past. I think the VP debate, I want to touch on it a little bit. I think Vance showed what he is best at. Wall showed that he doesn't have a good clue, and we now know why they keep Harris and Waltz away from cameras.
Yeah. Look, so I didn't get to see the debate, but I heard it because I was in my car, kind of heading back from the airport, and watched a lot of the post debate coverage on it. And look, the reason why I thought that debate was so good for J.D. Vance and so bad for Tim Walz and Kamala Harris is because ever since Trump made the pick of J.D. Vance, the narrative amongst the mainstream media is what a bad pick it was.
Yep.
What a bad pick it was. And when, Kamala Harris bypassed Josh Shapiro, which she might go to the grave regretting in about a month, and she picked Tim Walz, she's been lauded about this inspirational pick, this, folksy uncle guy who you want to have a beer with. And look, I mean, the list of people that I wouldn't have a beer with is pretty small, right? I mean, so I'll have a beer with anybody, you know? I mean, but it doesn't mean I want them running this country or in a position to have nuclear codes. And, and so, yeah, I thought it was a very good debate for J.D. Vance, and I actually, I mean, Waltz, I had very low expectations for his performance, and he met those low expectations. And as you know, that's, kind of what these debates are about, or, setting and meeting or those expectations.
It works it back in, that's for sure. Well, speaking of that, because I mean, a lot of other stuff going on. It's a lot of political downtime right now, but I still think, Chip, my prediction back in March was this election is decided in the last 15 days. I still see that happening. I think there's going to be I compare it to the 1980 election and the 92 election, in which the voters, if you look at polling in both of those races, it was very, very close up until the end of October. And it broke. Clinton broke one and Reagan broke the other. And it was because of, what I guess they call today feels. It was just, this is how I feel. I remember Clinton saying, do you want to wake up tomorrow morning and have a hope for a future? Or do you want to go back? And it was just that, it wasn't a pitch of, hey, I can do better. It's just, do you want to continue this 12 years? And Reagan was offsetting against Carter, who was having, we had hostages, we had everything going on. I see a similar pattern here developing. But it's going to be, it's going to be interesting these last, I think 15 days. And then you throw on top of the voter issues that you mentioned earlier in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, a little bit. It's going to be a real interesting. My understanding was, I don't know if you heard this. I heard North Carolina legislature was going back into session in a special session in the next week or so, not only to address funding, but also to address possible issues of voting and everything else.
Yeah, look, that's the thing too. It's, look, you hate to see a storm like that. But can you imagine if that storm came through 2 weeks from now?
Oh, wow.
When early voting was going on, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, look, they got a lot of things. They got some short-term problems that they got to fix with the election and voting, but then the long-term ramifications about, how you rebuild. And that's just Western North Carolina. Augusta, Georgia and Valdosta, Georgia got hammered, but, they didn't, they got hammered with the winds and not necessarily the flooding.
Right.
And so it's, look, I think when the dust is settled, this will be one of the most destructive and catastrophic hurricanes in our lifetime.
Oh, I agree with you. James, are you there? San Diego James, there he is.
He's here.
We made it. We're bringing James in to finish up this conversation because I don't know if y'all caught it this week. Saturday Night Live got back to, at least for a couple of segments, being funny the other night. They brought back Dana Carvey as Biden, and he
very good,
killed it.
Crushed
just killed it. And several more that came back, but the one and I can't remember who did they get to do Walls. Who did they bring in for Walls?
Jesus. Andy Samberg.
Yeah, and did a great job. But if there was ever a role, God bless he would be here around, that should have been Walls, is Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be great.
I missed him for so many reasons, but now to miss him not doing Tim Walls is just, okay, I get it. Popular culture here, Joe. What is this? He's spastic.
He's an old man having a good time right now. Do you think, you know what I like to think about, though? I like to think that Tim Walz had absolutely no hopes of ever being vice president. And when he was asked, he just had the most Minnesota kindness and was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. And now he's like, what did I get myself into?
Well, it's really funny. Was I talking to you about it, Doug, where I was just like, I think these vice presidential debates are pointless. And I thought both people lost. And because it just felt like I was like, neither of these people, not Tim Walz, not J.D. Vance, would ever convince me to switch.
I tend to agree. What is it though with Walz? You either say he's living his best life or he's running from Fastly. Please don't catch up to me. It's amazing.
He's just a hokey Minnesota boy having a good time. That's how I'm looking at it. I think goes the same for J.D. Vance though, except I'm not a huge fan of him, but it's just very funny, because everything that he does, everyone considers cringy. So anything he does going forward, that's how the light people are going to look at it through.
Yep.
But anyway, it was SNL crushed it the other night, I got to say.
Look, I described the Walls the other day, Chip. I had an interview and I talking about how Walls. I said, look, what Harris needed was a Midwesterner that could talk common sense and be level-headed. This is Command Sergeant Major, supposedly, we're talking about. He did rise to the rank. I've known a lot of E9s in my life. I have never seen one act like this one. And the thing that gets me is I said she needed this what a Midwestern common sense, and instead she got this guy looking for overalls in the hee haw show. I mean, it's like
because they think that's the demographic that they need to reach out to, right? Because
Which I don't understand. Why do you think the hee haw people, if that's who you're looking for, are coming to you from the guy from Minnesota?
Yeah. Do you think James even remembers hee haw, Chip?
No,
No.
but he
No one does.
But he delivered that line like he pretended like he did, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, I was impressed. That's pretty darn good. I have to give it. Now we know what James is going to do the rest of the morning since he's out on the James is going to go and he's going to be Googling hee haw.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, YouTube it, baby. Roy Clark, Buck Owens. Get it going.
You got it.
Anyway, but like I said, I've never seen a role more made for Dana Carvey on this one. And if you want to see something funny, go to Al Franken again, former Senator Al Franken. Go to his Twitter page. He was on there talking. He was on either Dana Carvey's show or Al was on his show, or anyway. And they were talking about how they prepped for Joe Biden, and it's amazing to watch Dana Carvey go from Dana Carvey to Joe Biden. I mean, it's like, wow.
Well, it makes sense because Dana Carvey's crazy. I mean, Dana Carvey's a hell of a lot older than he was 20, 25 years ago when he was doing Saturday Night Live.
And when he was doing George H.W. Bush, he was killing it.
Oh,
yeah, and the church lady and everything else. I mean, he's just hilarious. But moving on. Well, as we've moved into the football season, we're now, week 6, I guess, college football.
Doug, I don't want to talk about college football.
Oh, how come?
Yeah, how's the parties been at Auburn there, Chip? Give us an update from the tailgate.
I don't want to talk about college football. Let's move on.
Have you considered just giving up altogether, like the rest?
No. That was about 5 days ago.
Well, look on the bright side, though, Chip. If it continues like this, there will be no. You'll have people around you. You won't have to be crowded in, and the bathrooms will not be as full.
Hurricane Helene was a metaphor for what happened on the field at Jordan-Hare on Saturday.
Yeah.
The lights went out, the rivers got flooded, and it's not coming back. It's going to be a long-term rebuild on the plans.
Is your coach going to make it?
The coach is going to make it, I think. The coach is going to make it largely because who wants that job right now?
Yeah.
I think we've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, man, and I don't dislike Hugh Freeze. I wanted to be in a better position than we are now, but now it's like, all right, brother, hey, you got to fix it. You didn't start it, but you're not fixing it.
Yeah. Well, what's the Yellowwood guy saying?
I think Yellowwood guys, Jimmy Rain, who's obviously the biggest booster of Auburn football, is I think he's in a similar position. It's just a horrendous season. We're 2-3 when the reality is we should have been 4-1 or 5-0, but we still have the third best recruiting class next year. We had a good freshman class come in this year. They're young. In the second half of the game, we played more freshmen and sophomores than we played in 12 years. So, and we just flipped Deuce Knight from Notre Dame, a 4-star quarterback last night, and so, there's reasons to be optimistic, but, we're running out of silver linings.
Yeah. It is. Hey, we got to talk about, and look, as y'all all well know, Auburn, we've had the Auburn, Alabama, Georgia connection and all here, but Alabama, Georgia played last week. And as folks on this podcast know, I grew up with both. As long as they don't play each other, I'm great. I win national titles with both of them. But as long as they play, I'm with Georgia. And James don't even understand. He's a Minnesota fan, so we got.
I don't need to understand. I know that you like two great teams, and it pisses me off because I'm sick of losing. I'm tired of living this life.
He's got to come to the South and get baptized. I mean, we got to get him to a Saturday at Auburn.
Well, rumor is, after he leaves San Diego, he might be coming this way.
Well, I'm gonna be in Georgia. That's coming.
This is gonna be a rowdy time.
You guys want to hear my little weekend experience about with the? So I texted you guys that I met a Georgia girl.
James has been picking up these Georgia girls and all these folks that are on this trip. I mean, this dating series could be a book.
Yeah, I'm gonna ramble.
It could be
It's gonna be called Rambling Man.
It could be its own podcast.
What was that?
It could be its own podcast.
Guys, I've written so much down in this
look,
phone.
Look, he's already becoming Allman Brothers Rambling Man.
There's stories that I've written down on this phone that I'm gonna have to delete, so I can't legally be prosecuted. Hold on. So here we go. So I went out on a date, and she's a Georgia girl. So on our second date, she's like, I said, "Do you want to go watch the game?" Because I'm a genius, and she was like, "Absolutely." So we go watch the game. It's not a good start, obviously. It was like 28-0. So we leave. We go to this little concert. 2 hours worth of this stupid little concert. It's awful. And she's like, "Hey, I want to go see if there's any of the game left. Let's go to a bar." So we go to the bar. And the game is turned around, and it's out of control. And it ends how it ends, and we start drinking. Because what do you do after a loss like that? You start drinking. And got roped into.
That's what I always understood. I guess. Yeah.
And I got roped into judging a karaoke contest with people who don't know how to sing. And the only way I can describe it is it was one of the best, most fun nights I have ever had, listening to old people and some young try to sing songs from my generation and generations before. Certain people don't belong on a microphone. That's a fact, and I don't have enough video of it. But if somebody had a video of me, it would be me about 5 feet away from the person singing, trying not to laugh, covering my face with my scorecard. So all in all, the Georgia game gave me a great night, because if I didn't have to finish that Georgia game, I'd have never ended up in that stupid bar and judging a karaoke contest. So, go Dogs. That's how I'm going to
win. What song won?
Oh, this dude showed up. He must have been 60 years old, covered in warts, stupidest hat I've ever seen, short dude, ugly jacket. And he sang, what's that song? Baby, Lock Them Doors and Turn the Lights Down Low. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. I literally gave him a standing ovation. One woman sang,
"Music is nice and slow."
He nailed it. I was like, this guy is my hero. I literally hugged him afterward. I was like, that's the best performance we've had so far. One woman did sing "Arms of the Angel" by Sarah McLachlan, and I somehow rooted for her, although I was thinking of sad dying dogs. That's a pretty good voice. You got a good voice if you can make me think about that and still give you a and then there was 2 rounds, and during the second round, people started buying me alcohol to try to bribe me. And I said, yeah, no, that'll work, to every single person that brought it to me. A lot of losers out there. But anyway, yeah,
James, Chip, we got to put a GoPro on him.
Oh man, it'd be
I'm not getting caught up like that, boys. You're not getting me caught up that way. Yeah, we'll start a podcast called "I Can't Believe We Allowed Him to Go on the Road Alone."
That's right.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, anyway, we can move on from my silly football day.
But again, going back to the reason I picked up the Alabama Georgia game, though, Chip and James. Now that we know James had a much better time at it than we did, I came into it in that first quarter. I said, Georgia again. This is. We stumbled out of the gate. If it wasn't for Dan Jackson, who had 10 tackles, by the way. 10 tackles, 6 solo, and an interception, and the kid is still not on scholarship, Kirby. I don't get it.
He didn't even drive a car 180 miles an hour. You don't get a scholarship.
Does he drive fast? He might drive.
I'm gonna call Joe his dad. I'm gonna say, Joe, let him do like we used to do racing home from North Georgia. Tell the boy to go get a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
Do something. Because I grew up with Dan's dad. Full disclosure, I grew up with Dan's dad. I was there when Dan was born. Joe was one of my groomsmen in my wedding. We've known each other forever. And but it's just amazing to me that they keep bringing in these 5-star talents, which are great. Malik Starks, all these guys, and Dan consistently, outplayed. But Urban Meyer, who I normally never quote on anything, actually made a comment. I saw this yesterday. I'd like to get y'all's comments on it. He said that, and this is the way he said. He said Kirby Smart is the best college coach in football right now. He said no other team, no other coach in the country could have got his team do what the Georgia did in the second half.
Well, I'm going to tell you Georgia's downfall on Saturday, Doug, is that I wanted them to win. And,
Yeah.
You know, and
That was the problem right there.
And that never happens. That never happens. Ever happens. I don't ever cheer for Georgia football, ever. But you got to remember, I'm an Auburn fan. So here I am, and I got a game in front of me, and it's Alabama versus Georgia, our two biggest enemies. And I had to make a choice. Because if college football could end in a tie, that's what I would have been cheering for. So I had to make a decision.
I had to make a choice.
To cheer for Georgia, and I apologize.
Next time, would you just please cheer
yes,
for Alabama?
I will. So I won't do that again.
I mean, but it's amazing. And James, you watched the game. I have to give him credit. If you saw the after speech from Kirby, I mean, this was 42 in. I mean, Kirby, what he said to them afterwards was really good. I mean, he said they had one more moment than we did. And I think for Georgia fans, look, I think it's been a great run, and we've talked about this before. Everything goes up and down. Alabama got their number early. They couldn't bring it back. But when they brought it back, and that last interception, because I was looking, honestly, for this thing to go to overtime. The way the momentum was going, I thought Georgia would take it to overtime. And it didn't happen. But one, it showed amazing growth in 1 year on Jalen Milroe, who came into a system in which he looked terrible last September.
We were talking about him being one of the worst quarterbacks at a major school.
It was bad. It was
awful.
bad. I mean, he was benched last September against UCF, but he did something. I don't know the guy in it at all, but what he's done since then tells me there's something about him that is different. And, in his faith perspective, that may be part of it or whatever. But he's just different, Chip. I mean, he handles himself. He's not – you don't see him out front. He's got the size to be a National Football League quarterback, which is different than what Alabama's had the last few years. Look, right now –
I mean,
they're the best team. Alabama's back to having the best team in college football right now.
But they're also talking about him being the number one pick now.
Well, I see so much in politics these days as I do in number one draft picks. One good game, one good half a season, one good speech, one good time in front of the city council, and there's the next president of the United States. Give me a freaking break.
That's right.
I'd be okay with that if Auburn's quarterback has a good game. Okay.
Which one?
I'd be fine with that discussion. That's not happened.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, I mean, so I can't relate to any of these words that you guys speak.
Here's the good. I don't even have a college football team, so I'm from New Jersey. We have Rutgers, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, that's the problem. But Rutgers actually is not a bad.
No, they're not. But it's just nobody cares.
Hey, big game coming up this week. Air Force Navy. Navy is killing it lately, and Air Force has done okay. I mean, it's not been bad, but Air Force Navy, the first of the Commanders Cup, Commander in Chief Cup games. This one typically is an indicator of where it's going, and it'll be interesting to see this weekend. I think it's actually out there. I think it's actually in Colorado Springs this week.
Not a bad place to watch a football game.
No. If you've
early October, I don't know that I'd want to watch a football game out there in late November.
No. And James, as you came through Denver, did you ever go down to Colorado Springs?
I went through, but no, I stupidly stayed in Denver. I should have stayed in Colorado Springs.
Oh my God, Colorado Springs. There's a place this is a free entertainment, and if they would like to compensate me as a paid spokesman, I'll be happy to accept it from the Broadmoor. If you've ever have an experience in life, go to the Broadmoor out of just north of Colorado Springs. It is incredible. It's an old hotel. It's one of those. The one thing you see out west, and James, you may have experienced this, and Chip, is you get into some of those old towns, Colorado Springs, you get into Spokane, Washington, you get into they have you used to see it in the movies, the big hotel. Well, they have those, and they're still around.
There's one in Tacoma that's really
they've
cool.
redone them, but they're beautiful. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. And this one has such a history behind it. The Broadmoor.
Yeah, old hotels are cool as hell. Like, there's just something about them. There's just like I'm trying to remember the one I went to in Tacoma. My buddy told me to go. I had dinner there. It was really creepy, but I loved it. I don't know. There's just something about the vibe of the whole thing where it feels like Vincent Price used to go there.
Yeah,
You know, just like what?
No, what you said is true. I went to the one in Spokane. I stayed at the one in Spokane, which was 125 years old. I mean, this was before that. Most of that area was even almost was a state, and you could just imagine going into the front lobby and cowboys coming in with boots on and the horses tied up out front. It's just pretty
real
amazing.
Swinging doors, reach for the sky cowboy type stuff. Absolutely,
it was amazing. It was amazing. Hey, Chip, one of the things we hadn't talked about, and it's coming up here pretty soon. It sounds like you may see our roving reporter out there in the San Diego area is the Breeders' Cup.
Oh yes, no, I have my tickets for the Breeders' Cup. I'm attending, and as I told James, I think I can swing him a ticket for Friday's Breeders' Cup. But,
what's the attire for Breeders' Cup? Because I'll go all out.
And I will show you my ode to Seize the Gray, who is going to be running in the Breeders' Cup on Saturday. But what we do not know yet is whether or not Seize the Gray will be running in the Classic, which is a $6 million race, or running in the Dirt Mile, which is a $2 million race. I would prefer for the horse to run in the Dirt Mile because I think it's a better fit for the horse. I think it fits the horse's style better, and the Classic is just filled with monster horses, and it's just kind of a coin flip. But the richest 2 days of horse racing in the country every year is the Breeders' Cup, and it's I've never been to Del Mar in San Diego. I've wanted to go. I've watched it on TV all the time. And I will be out there November 1st and 2nd, and I just can't wait.
Well, would this be Seize the Gray's last run?
Well, it's funny, Doug. So Seize the Gray, the partnership of Seize the Gray, which is an LLC, entered into an agreement with Gainesway Farm about 3 months ago, and it's a breeding deal. And so we retain ownership of Seize the Gray 100% until December 31st. Then December 31st, Gainesway Farm takes over 49% ownership. We retain 51% ownership. The breeding agreement says if Seize the Gray runs 2 consecutive races off the board, meaning doesn't hit first, second, or third, then the horse will retire and immediately start breeding. Seize the Gray ran in the Travers Stakes and came in 4th, but then ran the Pennsylvania Derby 3 weeks ago and won the Pennsylvania Derby. And so we don't know the answer to that question, right? I mean, if Seize the Gray wins the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, which I think he's going to end up running in the Dirt Mile, then I would like to see Seize the Gray run the Pegasus Cup at Gulfstream in January and then retire after that race. But at the end of the day, I only own 8 shares of the horse, and there are, I think, 4,000 shares out there. And the reality is, even as owners, even if I were the largest shareholder, when you purchase these shares, you are giving full discretion to the racing manager, which is myracehorse.com. A guy named Michael Behrens, who's a genius. He's a good businessman and a good horseman. And so Michael will ultimately make those decisions. I've agreed with most of the decisions he's made. And it's just been a hell of a ride that they've taken us on. And I would like to see Seize the Gray run one more race. But the reality is we just don't know. We'll just have to see.
Well, who's the next big? While we're at this, James and I, us poor non-horse owners here, who's the next big discussion point? What's the next big horses out there being discussed? Is the Seize the Gray for 2025?
It's funny, Doug. It's a great question, and the road to the Kentucky Derby, and a lot of people don't know this, which is why when COVID happened, it was a really big deal. horses are only eligible to run in the Triple Crown as 3-year-olds. They can't run as
Right.
2-year-olds. They can't run as 4-year-olds. They can't run as 5-year-olds. So when they canceled the Kentucky Derby during COVID, it was kind of a big deal. Then they ended up running it in the fall, and that was fine. And so, 2-year-old horses have just started their racing careers within the last 6 to 10 weeks. And so it's completely possible that the next the next Kentucky Derby winner has not started his career yet.
That's
Really?
insane.
Possibly start the career in this month, right? So it's not, October of the year before is normally when a horse will run his first race. That being said, Seize the Gray ran his first race in July of last year. And that's unusual to start that early. But D. Wayne Lucas, the trainer, just believed that it was the right time for the horse to start running.
Right.
And so that's the great thing about horse racing is there's a very short window for these horses to get better and to start their careers. And so, we'll know the answer to that question more at the end of the year around December or January. Right now, we don't know. I mean, we just don't know. It very well could be a horse that none of us have talked about on the horse racing blogs and things like that. And that's what makes this industry so fascinating, is because it's very dynamic. I mean, nothing stays the same and horses are sensitive animals too. They get injured a lot. Seize the Gray is a very durable horse, and that's unusual. It's unusual. That horse has raced a lot for a horse of his age, but he's literally a workhorse, and so that doesn't necessarily happen a lot. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, James and I can connect out there.
I
Never
can't wait
been
to
to
see
a Breeders'
that.
Cup, but it's just a fascinating event, and I can't wait to get out there.
Can't wait.
Exactly.
I can't wait to see that. Let's switch to football, guys. The Fantasy League is progressing right along. I'm doing my normal. I'm bringing in the rear, which is very happy for me. Mine is just amazing. I think if you go back and look at my team, I think I have lost I've won one and lost 3, I guess now. And my losses have they're less than 5 points. I'm just getting, it's like, and one person on mine will do nothing, and I'll have somebody on the bench that has been, barfing along, gets 26 points, and it's just like, really? So, interesting enough for the Fantasy League, that's where we're at. What surprised you the most? We haven't had a chance to do this in a few weeks. What surprised you the most about, and this is sort of teeing a softball up for James, but what has been surprising the most about the NFL's season so far?
Gee, I wonder what James is going to say.
Do you guys want me to take this one real quick, or do you want to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, it all started around 4 months ago.
You were born in a middle class family, right?
We used to walk to school up a hill both ways.
In the snow.
In the snow. All right, let's talk about it, guys. Currently, there is an MVP candidate out there who, if somebody actually said that in a serious tone before the season, that person would be looked at and probably hung or hanged or strung up or put somewhere where they couldn't be seen to speak again, because Sam Darnold.
I didn't know they gave him I couldn't give McCarthy an MVP from the bench.
Oh, it's so funny to hear that. Guys, listen, Vikings are 4-0. They're putting the beats on everybody. It's not a couple points all the time. We let Green Bay come back because we felt bad for them. All right? I'm telling you right now, we've spent a couple years in this podcast of me saying I don't want to get my hopes up. My hopes are up, boys. 4-0. Jordan Addison's back. TJ Hawkins come back in a couple weeks. Sam Darnold looks unreal. Justin Jefferson is a dog, and that defense by Brian Flores is insane right now. So I'm just going to say what I got to say. I'm trying not to get too excited about it. Sam Darnold for MVP and possibly my new Lord and Savior. And we'll have a really tough decision to make at the end of the season if all goes well. That's all I know.
Yeah. Chet, what you got?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, if we're 4 weeks into the season, but I mean, James is not incorrect. If this was a 4-week season, Sam Darnold would be runaway MVP. There's not anybody that's even been close to what he's done in 4 games. I mean, who would be second in the MVP voting right now? Maybe Baker Mayfield? I mean, come on. I mean,
By the way, he's playing today. You'll hear this tomorrow, but we're taping
maybe
it. We're having
I mean,
he'll be in Atlanta tonight. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
that's the world we're living in, though, right now. Yeah. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, and Baker Mayfield are all playing good football.
Yeah.
Which, again, goes to show you, please, God, don't go near the Jets or the Browns.
But no, I tell you what this shows. It shows that we have screwed around so much with the preseason that your September has become preseason.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm not taking away from Minnesota. That's not a dig at Minnesota. It's not a dig at Seattle. But but they have the weapons to be a part. I mean, Jefferson's killing it. Darnold's on a hot streak.
Yeah.
But you look at these others. I mean, Dallas doesn't surprise me, but Baltimore. I would love to do an in-depth analysis, which I actually have a job, so I can't. Of time that which teams didn't play their basically their starters the most in preseason and see what their records are right now.
Well, I think it would be slightly unfair for the Rams because they don't play anybody, but half their team is dead.
Yeah, I mean,
but you're right. You're 100%.
Atlanta. I think Atlanta is a prime example. Cousins is still not on sync with his receivers. We've still forgotten that Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a non-existent entity in Atlanta.
I don't get it.
Trade him right now.
You're not even trying to get him the ball.
No,
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
They're not even trying to get him the ball,
guys. I'm sorry. I've watched Kyle Pitts play. He's a bust.
Yeah,
he's a bust.
I understand that, but like I'm not saying he's not a bust. He's 100% a bust. I guess my point is
being used properly to see if he.
It's not even that. It's just like they're not using him, but they're also not using any of their tight ends. Like it's not like it's not going to him and it's going to somebody else.
Well, and that's what we're seeing. And they're just not on run.
And he's like, oh, what did Morris say? They don't stats are pointless. They just play winning football. I'm like, you guys aren't winning every game, so why don't you just shut up and give this man the ball? He's 6'10" or whatever. Just give him the ball. I'm sorry. I fell for it. We all fell for it again.
Darnell Washington in Pittsburgh looks just like Darnell Washington did at University of Georgia, though. My gosh, he is huge.
Wait, speaking of Washington, Jaden Daniels.
I think we all sort of picked Daniels. We sort
did,
of had Daniels, and he's doing it.
Man,
he's doing it. But also, if we're gonna bring up Daniels, you also got to bring up mine, Williams and Richardson.
I don't know who those people are. I don't remember what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, the bust that I've been talking about for 2 years now.
Caleb Williams doesn't worry me at all because I saw what he could do. I know what he's capable
of. Playing Colorado State for the helpless?
The Anthony Richardson thing is so upsetting. The guy can't stay healthy. He can't. He's on a terrible team. He's got one wide receiver. Josh Down, whatever. You know what? It's fine. Joe Flacco's coming in. He'll save the day.
Flacco. Hey, look who's found his team, though. Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And
I think we were all very much on board with that, right? We all believed in Justin Fields for the last few years.
He's getting ready to get benched.
I just like that Russell Wilson's not playing football. That's really what this is about.
Yeah, they're going to bring Russell Wilson in the first opportunity they have.
No, they're not. There is no world they can do that.
Yeah, they are.
If I mean this sincerely, everything Mike Tomlin has done from now till that, if he decides to bring in Russell Wilson, makes what he's done completely irrelevant because that means his decision-making is absolutely terrible. Justin Fields is playing good football, solid football for a team that's 3-1, 4-1?
3-1. Yeah.
3-1. They're 3-1, and you're worried about Justin Fields right now?
Yeah.
Shut up. Don't even look at. If you hear Russell Wilson talk about a Subway sandwich, you just shoot him in the foot and you make this start over again. Do not allow him to play football.
All right. Well, speaking of dumpster fires, at least Carolina had the good sense to put in the redheaded flame, and they've at least looked better. But the biggest dumpster biggest dumpster fire of all at this point, at least I think arguably, is Jacksonville.
Oh wow, hands down.
What has
It's
happened?
so bizarre. I don't know, but it's just so bizarre. And as a Travis Etienne fantasy football owner in one of my leagues, I mean, just an absolute disaster, that whole franchise right now. And I can't figure it out. They
We've
have
put on the blinders.
ball. They have a good coach. They're not. I mean, it's just not getting done. I don't know.
What am I missing from the Trevor Lawrence? I'm not because okay, all right. This is probably my example though, right? We've seen Sam Darnold play bad football. It wouldn't have been weird for us to be like Sam Darnold's not going to be good this year, right? We've almost never seen Trevor Lawrence play good football, and yet here we are, year after year, begging for that Justin Herbert love that Justin Herbert gets. But we've seen Justin Herbert play good football. He just plays on bad teams. Jacksonville has weapons.
They do.
It's not like he has excuse. Brian Thomas Jr. is a dog. Christian Kirk can catch the football. He's got two decent running backs now that Bigsby's all of a sudden better than he was. I don't understand what's happening, but I also don't understand the love for Trevor Lawrence. And they just paid him how much?
50 a year. 50 a year. But here's the thing, and Chip, and looking at what he said about Trevor, so I watched some clips of him that was talking about it on something. I'll just watch it. And somebody made this comment, which I think is very true. He's lost his confidence. He is not.
Yeah.
Something has happened. That injury, a year or so ago?
Yeah.
He's not come back.
No, he's not.
And I don't know if he's scared of getting hit. He's scared of whatever. But he's missing, he's missing receivers. We know he has the skills. This is not a skill issue anymore. This is a between the ears issue.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it because I've always liked Trevor. I mean, I've never thought he was the world beater, but he was always a good quarterback.
I thought he was just going to be a solid Pro Bowler kind of quarterback.
8-9 year Pro Bowler, make it through, that kind of thing. But he's just he's lost his confidence.
They're going to fire Doug Peterson at the end of the season without question.
I tell you though, I was never a huge fan of this, 17, 18 game season, but the thing that does make the NFL different is, you can start 0-4. It's not impossible if you're a good team and you have good pieces. It's not impossible to go on a run after like that. It's not likely. History says it's not likely, but what were the odds of Jacksonville starting 0-4 4 weeks ago? I mean, they weren't that good either. And so, look, I think they can still turn it around. Now, look, I don't see them going deep into the playoffs or maybe even making the playoffs, but I think they can start playing a lot better football, give them something to build on. But man, that's got to be that to me is the surprise of the year so far.
It has been a surprise. I tell you the one thing that again, and I hate it for this because I enjoy. I mean, I pull for them, and that's the Raiders. The Raiders just can't seem to get it right. I mean, they've got the talent. Minshew. I love what Crosby told him. I want the Washington State Minshew. I want. Where's that confidence? He's just not there. And
where do they send Tay? Where do they send Devontae?
So I think that where they can get to me, if I was Oakland, which is always be Oakland to me, but if I was Las Vegas, I would send him to where I would do the who was it? Chicago, Houston kind of thing. Just get picks. Just go, send him out
100%.
for picks.
Get them all.
Give me second round. Give me first round. Give me third round. Give me those picks and just start building back up. What they need out there. Nothing's gonna. I mean, right now until they get a quarterback that they're comfortable with that actually can play and not be flash in the pan, the Raiders are just going to be 500 at best.
Yeah,
and it's just not there. I think we're seeing an interesting turn though in Stafford. I think we can be getting closer to the end of the Stafford era.
Yeah, without Puka and without Cooper, and he's throwing a 2-2 out on Robinson.
He got nobody to throw to.
Now they're loading the box for Kyron. It's not.
And well, speaking of other sort of, this was a sort of a produced dumpster fire. Miami.
Oh, dude, don't get me started.
Don't get me started on my number two picks, Tyreek Hill both times.
Yeah.
The most reliable human being on the planet. Can't catch.
And I've got Devon A-Chain in 2 leagues, and I mean, Tua going down just destroyed Tyreek and Devon's fantasy value, which I'm upset about. But I should probably not be selfish, and I should probably think about Tua's future more
Yeah.
in its head than my fantasy.
Okay, real quick around the horn. Tua come back or not?
Yeah, 100%.
This last year?
No. He's going to play for another 5-6 years. He's going.
I disagree.
No,
I think
he might die.
I think they're going to extend this. Yeah, I think they're going to extend this IR at least 4 more weeks, and I personally think there's at least a better than 50% chance he doesn't come back. And the reason I say that is you've heard nothing from him.
Oh no, he already said he's playing again.
Yeah, but maybe.
When you say they extend the IR, you mean the Dolphins extend or Tua extend?
Dolphin. I think the Dolphin, between a mutual agreement, I think they both extend it for another.
Have you watched the Dolphins play the last 2 games?
Yeah, they're going to throw him out there like what's his name?
But I think that's where that's why I'm saying I think the decision Tua is going to probably have to throw up the red flag on it. But again, I wish him the best. I wish he would come back and be an MVP.
He's going to he's going to. There's no world where he doesn't come back. They gave him too much money.
Yeah, but look, I get it. But I mean, I don't want to see him down on the ground again.
I know.
In a seizure.
That's football, and he knows that, and that's how it's going to be. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying he knows the stakes. And is it irresponsible for the NFL to probably let him play again? Maybe, but they don't have anything in their bylaws or anything that can prevent him.
No league does. No league does tells you when to retire, and I get it. But again, it's just he has become the unfortunate poster child for the concussion, and it's just sad. Looking at it from that perspective as we go forward. So again, we'll see how it comes out. I don't have a lot of others, this going to make the mix, but I think we need to come back to hear something on this podcast because he has been a big part of our podcast and he has been helpful all throughout there. And we actually named our fantasy league after Chan Gailey.
Yep, Chan Gailey's favorite podcast.
Chan's pick, Baker Mayfield. Baker is killing it. Look, I know I told y'all already we're taping this on Thursday before the Thursday night game with the Falcons. So whatever you're hearing tomorrow may be, all wet. But I think he comes in tonight and possibly just rips the Falcons up.
He just kicked the Eagles in the chin. The Eagles are not a good football team, by the way, and I want to make that clear that I said it day one. So continue.
Yeah, but
Baker looks great, man. The Tampa Bay team is they're a good football team right now. They're just playing good football.
Yep. I agree.
And look, I mean, I've got Baker in another one of my fantasy leagues, so I'm pretty happy with that pick because I got him really late. Wait a minute. I think I got him on the free agent market after week 1 or 2.
Of course you did. Nobody was touching that.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy. But he had a great week last week, so it's just tough in this league to have those games back to back, and so I can see maybe him just having an average game today.
Yeah, we'll see how it all works out. Well, guys, this has been fun. We're going to continue as we all go. Chip, James, thank you so much for being a part of Friday's Finest. It's been good. We're going to have a lot more. Hopefully some stuff here in the future. But, folks, let me just say this. As we come to an end here on the Doug Collins podcast, as you have currently known it, been distributed with Salem, I just want to say thank you to Salem. Over time we've had differences, but at the same point in time, it's also been good to be out in this podcast market for the last 3 years with you. Looking forward to staying in the market probably. Doing it in a different form. You'll see about it. We're going to let you know on social media how you're going to find out about us and what we're going to be doing. But we want you to continue to be a part, be a support of that. I think back to when I first started this podcast, I was literally in the basement of my house interviewing people from my computer. And James has been with us since day one of this process and been an outstanding producer, outstanding individual. And I am just very pleased to say has become part of the Collins family. He's become part of my family. And I just want to say thanks, James. Outstanding. Chip already knows how much I feel about him. Chip is a brother from another mother that we've been separated from for a long time now, but we're always together. So, folks, you've been out there. Y'all been so supportive. I hear from you on the road. We're going to try and keep the DougCollinsPodcast.com site at least up so you can email me there. Look forward to it. If you need to try and get in touch with me, though, of course, we're on social media. Twitter @Rep Doug Collins, Instagram Doug Collins GA, and then Facebook as well. You can go through there. We've got people who will, if you got to get some stuff to me, please do that as we go forward. But I can't say enough about the audience and the guests that we've had over time. I mean, I look back on it, James, and think about it. We've had literally chiefs of staffs to presidents to mayors to WWE to great bow hunters and hunters. I mean, it's been a cavalcade of amazing people that have run through this podcast, and you and Chip have made Friday's Finest so much fun over time, and we have just had a great time. So again, to everybody out there listening, this may be a pause. We got a lot of election stuff coming up, so we may be a little bit less frequently talking, but we'll still be talking hopefully as we go through this in just different formats. But I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everything is still up, always good. And with that, we're signing off from the Doug Collins Podcast.